Well, welcome everyone. I know we still have some individuals that are entering into today's virtual meetup, but I want to welcome everyone and thank you for taking the time to join us today. We're really excited about today's session. We have Natalie Cannady. She's our Director of Wellness and the Chief Wellness Officer. And today's topic is just about that, is about wellness. So we've got some questions that we want to ask you, Natalie, and we want to encourage all of the participants. Any questions that you may have, please make sure that you submit those to Natalie, and we'll do our best to get to those. Wellness is always an important topic that very much affects the quality of our lives, and I think even more so right now, focusing on wellness is really important. So again, those that have just entered, we're talking with Natalie today about wellness. A couple of things that you can do in the chat box. You can submit what you're doing to focus on your wellness right now. Shelby is taking walks with her husband, and I'm trying to fit in yoga or Pilates 4 to 5 times a week. That just helps me relax and kind of stretch out. So use the chat to let us know what you're doing to focus on your wellness, but also use the chat box if you have specific questions related to wellness that you want to ask Natalie. Use the chat box, and Tim is going to be monitoring that, and we'll be sure to get to that. So we're going to go ahead and kick this off. So Natalie, just tell us about your role at UAMS and what you do.
So my role at UAMS has kind of been evolving over the last year. We see wellness as a whole person as opposed to just fitness and nutrition. So we're working with all of our departments, HR, you guys in org development have been wonderful. And then, we've got all kinds of areas through the hospital. We've got College of Medicine. We have different resources for mental health through them. We also have the EAP. We've really got a lot going on, and so my job is really just to pull everything together so that way we have all those resources in one place, and then to help direct people towards those resources and make sure that a lot of managers are aware of it so that way they can pass it down to their employees as they feel is needed. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that kind of leads into what the next question was. When people hear wellness, they typically think of two things, which is the fitness, our exercise, and our diet, but you mentioned it encompasses more than that. So we know that Dr. Patterson is very passionate and supportive of wellness. So can you just tell us what wellness is? When you say wellness, what all does that incorporate and encompass?
So we have a real good graphic that I could share, if I could share it to my screen. It kind of shows, there we go. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this graphic really kind of shows how we tie everything together. We've got physical, social, occupational, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, environmental, and financial. So these are all things that UAMS is trying to make sure that we are hitting, we have something available, we're hitting those needs, and we're slowly over the last year have been adding and trying to get more people to give us input so that way we can increase whatever we're offering. So when Danielle came on board, she had a lot of great ideas. It was wonderful. So she had a way of looking at some of these things that were different. Susan McDougall from Pastoral Care, she had a different way of looking at spiritual. Dr. Wendy Ward from the IPE department, she had a different way of looking at spiritual, and a couple of the others. So it's really, these things are in the eye of the beholder. So for me, social may mean me going to church and seeing my friends. For someone else, social may be playing video games at home with their friends, or it might be going to a party, or, there's a different viewpoint for every single person on what these mean. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's wellness is not a one size fits all.
Exactly. It's different for everyone.
Absolutely. So I know right now with COVID-19 going on and everything that is surrounding that, you're probably getting a lot of questions about wellness in relation to COVID-19. But from your perspective, what are the questions that we should be asking? What should we be focusing on during this time?
Yeah. So the most important questions that I feel should be asked in all areas would be, especially for managers or simply coworkers, check in on people. How are you? Do you have what you need? Is everything going okay? People are not going to open up and tell you everything that's going on, but they eventually will if they know that you really are there for them. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes that a lot of us are not typically aware of with our employees, a lot under the surface. So my opinion is that the most important things that we need to be doing is checking in, seeing if people are okay from a work standpoint, but then also from a personal standpoint. You don't have to get in somebody's business just to say, is everything going okay? Are you dealing with the stress? Because I know this is stressful.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. And I know that's kind of a common theme now that we've heard through all the sessions that we've had up until this point with the just the self-care with Dr. Ward and the coping with stress with Dr. Macias. I know that connectedness and checking in on one another has been a common theme. So it's good to hear you reiterate that from wellness standpoint, checking in on one another, making sure that we're okay. So can you talk about some of the activities and resources that are available to employees during this time? Some of the things that are coming out of the wellness area for employees.
Yeah, so we've been working with a lot of different areas to try to make a lot of the services, available online at home or in the office, because part of us are here, part of us are there. One of those things that we've developed, I'm going to share screen again so you can see this. This is the COVID-19 wellness website. It's on the main Get Healthy webpage. But things that we've been putting together, I hope Dr. Macias talked about the Supportive Conversations program. A lot of our org development team are helping us with this program. And the thing that I feel is great is that it's anonymous. No one has to know who you are if you don't want to give your real name. And that's not tracked in any way. So if you just feel like you need to talk to somebody, we've got that hotline number ready. We've got pastoral care on board. We've got org development. We've got HR. We've got some people from EAP. So everybody's really ready and willing to listen. And then in working with Dr. Macias, Dr. Thapa, their group has so much stuff going on. We had to kind of push some stuff towards employees at noon and then some at 12:30 for clinical employees, because a lot of clinical will take lunch around 12:30. So you'll see we have the online mindfulness sessions. We have them at 12 and 12:30 Monday through Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, there's a 12:30 clinical session. Anybody can go to it, but it's really good to get your brain to reset, especially in this time when we're so stressed out. We're making a lot of decisions. And if you're not focused and not distant from your emotions, but able to slow your brain down, you may make a decision that you wouldn't otherwise have made. So that's a good tool. Employee assistance program is always available. So you can always contact them. They can actually do telemedicine sessions, so you can FaceTime with them on your phone. Those are really good. Every employee gets 10 visits per year with an EAP specialist, and that's covered by your insurance. Chaplain services, they do so much more than I ever realized. Basically, they're there to mitigate a lot. So they have been on the floors checking in on people for me, reporting back, telling us what's going on. We created a comfort cart where I just provide snacks and water, and then hand sanitizer, chapstick, and we're kind of just changing things out. But the comfort cart has been really helpful, especially in areas that are, we've got A7, A4, E4, and then all of the ICU, that it's a very stressful time and they're forgetting to eat. So we're trying to provide things that have high fiber, high protein, so that way it's keeping their blood sugar up instead of just jumping them up with some sugar and dumping them down. So that's one of the purposes behind the cart. That, and they get to talk to pastoral care. They also have cards for supportive conversations. So if you have an employee that you might want to share that information with, but you don't want to just walk up to them and hand them this big flyer, we have small cards. So if anybody needs those, let me know. Pastoral care has them in the on-call room 24/7. So if you needed some of those cards, you could call that on-call pager right there. this one right here, I'm sorry, the 688-2060. So if you wanted some cards for your employees, you could. If you're still seeing people in person, if you wanted something digital, just let me know and I can get that to you as well. We also, Northwest is doing live stream yoga. So we have a noon class, and then we also have an evening class Monday through Thursday. We have the noon class on Fridays, but there's not an evening class on Fridays. We also have the fitness center is having yoga at 4:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Facebook Live. So you should be able to log on to that. Even if you don't have an account, I believe you can still look up the fitness center Facebook page and have access to that, or the Get Healthy page. But we're trying our best to offer as much as we can. The problem is so is everyone else. So I can't tell you how many duplicates of files and different things that people want me to send out to all of our employees when I've already got, a big chunk of that in the backlog, which it's welcomed, because right now everyone wants to help. And that's the key thing that we need to stay focused on, is that everyone at UAMS has that star quality in them somewhere to do something for, and everybody's trying to use that to provide. And there's so much compassion at UAMS that I think, to me, it's heartening to see that overwhelming response.
Absolutely.
There's a lot more resources, just different things as far as stress, traumatic stress, but we also want to still guide people to that screenings if you're not feeling well, physically if you're not feeling well. So.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. This is a great resource, and we'll provide this information, have it out on the document that we've been kind of doing a synopsis of each session. So we'll make sure to have this out that everybody can locate. So you mentioned that there are yoga classes that are being live streamed because the fitness center is closed during this time. So what other, in addition to yoga and, using, accessing some of the live stream, what are some other ways that we can be sure that we're getting exercise during this?
Well, I think one of the most important things to remember is to take breaks. You've got two kinds of people that either work from home or that are at their office. One, the easily distractible that will run off and do 6 loads of laundry and then forget that they were supposed to be on a conference call. And then you've got the other group that's sitting at their desk 24/7 answering emails and calls from everybody that they possibly can and taking no breaks. So there needs to be kind of a balance in the middle. Yes, you need to be able to take breaks whether you're in the office or at home. And I think the best idea would probably be to set a time each day that you're going to get out and be active. So if the weather's beautiful outside, check the forecast for the next day, see when the weather's going to be great, and go outside, play with your dog for a little while, go for a walk. Mine likes to drag me down the road because he's pretty big. But yeah, that's kind of like a jog for me. But your kids, get out there and jump on the trampoline. I mean, please don't break a limb. But, there's all kinds of things we can be doing right now. There's great ideas. People are going on treasure hunts. You get to a certain area, you find a clue, and you have to do 10 jumping jacks before you move on to the next session. It's just something fun for the kids. It just adds in a little bit of exercise here and there. They don't even really feel like they're doing it. And I know you guys have seen a lot of the chalk art that's been going on. I'm hoping I've got a big case of chalk to come up to campus later on in the week or next week and put some messages all around the hospital again. We've got lots of groups that are doing that, but getting out and doing that, walking all over campus, that's going to be good for me, but it's also going to benefit somebody else. So little things here and there. Don't try to do an hour workout every single day if that's not something you normally do, because it's just going to lead you to no more exercise.
Got it. Tim, I just want to check in with you. Do we have any questions that have been submitted through the chat yet?
Not yet. So any other questions that people would like to submit, we'll certainly take them.
Okay, good deal. So Natalie, what are just some daily practices that we can be mindful of to encourage wellness in ourselves, in our teams, and in our families?
I think the best thing right now, since you know, have you seen the meme that says, you know, we don't know what day it is, so we're just going to call it Blur's Day.
Yes.
So it's not just you going through that. It's your spouse and your children are going through that. Even your pets. Like my pets are like, why are you home? Why are you here all day? You know, they're happy about it right now. But I think the best thing to do is to actually schedule the day, get things set up, think things through like you would if you were normally going to work. I know you've probably heard this: get up, take a shower, make your bed, you know, get ready for the day. And that mentally will set you up on a positive start. But really just be realistic. Don't try to spring clean your house while you're trying to work. That's not going to work out. I mean, you can do a chore here and there, but you're going to wear yourself thin. And then if you're in the office, don't isolate yourself as far as speaking to people. Like if you're stuck in your office and you're the only one and you can't be around anybody else right now, reach out to people on FaceTime, instant message through Skype. Keep a connection going somewhere with someone to keep yourself motivated and not feeling alone and isolated, because that's another problem that we're facing.
Absolutely. So you kind of touch on some things to be aware of. Are there any other traps or pitfalls that we need to be aware of, either working at the office or working from home, that could inhibit our wellness?
The same distractions that we have every day. I don't know if you guys have seen the trend. Everybody, for some reason, is making banana bread or cupcakes or cookies, or, you know, they're taking it with them to work, or they're having it at home readily available. That's one of the pitfalls that a lot of people are having right now. They're, you know, the freshman 15, well, we're probably going to have a similar phrase for that after COVID. So keep something that you know is going to be healthy for you. I know a lot of people don't like popcorn, but popcorn is fiber and it does make you feel fuller. That's a snack you could keep around the house. Drink lots of water. Don't give up on drinking water. Some people only drink water when they're at work. It's crazy. Then they get home and they forget to drink water, or vice versa. They only drink water at home and then they get to work and they completely forget to hydrate. So that can make you feel a whole lot better, just staying on track with things like that. And cookies are fine. Just don't eat the whole platter because you're bored. So we don't want to be handing out masks to keep people from eating. I've heard that one too.
Yeah, I feel like that's me. So I noticed last week I made 2 pans of brownies back to back on one day and then the next day, and those pans, both of them did not last very long. So it's just being mindful of that. I want to check in with Tim, see if we've had any questions come in.
Yeah, so Annabeth asked that, she says, I know you have a lot of different initiatives going on through the year. What has been the best way to communicate these out to the campus? And specifically, what has worked best for you?
It really depends on the audience we're trying to reach. So if I'm trying to reach clinical staff, it's typically going through leadership, because they're going to pay attention to something that comes to them from leadership. They will read the announcements, but they're not going to sit down and cautiously read through them like some other areas might. If I'm trying to target an area where people are more at their desks, the announcements work really well. Emails through our wellness champion groups go out. I think those do well too. I just feel like some of the more targeted, if the information comes from a manager or a middle manager or a director, their employees in that area are more likely to read it and find value. Whereas if it just comes from me straight out, you know, they may just brush it aside. But if their actual supervisor, someone they look up to, finds value, they're more likely to find more value in the information. And that goes for almost everything on campus. Yes,
definitely. So knowing those audiences and the best channels to reach them. So let's think about the scenario. If, say, you're an individual that, you know, wellness is important to you, or that's something you're mindful of, but maybe your boss or your team doesn't really prioritize wellness. What are some tips for handling that if you're wanting to promote that within your team?
Well, one thing you can do is invite me in to come to one of your meetings, because I can definitely make it known that this is a priority at UAMS. This is not an offering. This is a priority for us to make sure that our employees are in tip-top shape. Other than that, I mean, you can reach out and we can get resources to you to come. So if you wanted to have a mindfulness session in your area, we could either do that via Zoom or we can have a person come. It's just different resources that you and your coworkers might be interested in. Just reach out and let us know. I doubt that anybody would say you can't have that positive service here. No, because people want their employees to, work hard and have a good attitude when they come to work. So blocking out something that might be positive, I think that it would be a hard-pressed situation for a manager to say, no, we don't want anything good happening in our area. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, definitely. And thank you for making us aware that the service you provide is to, kind of make different rounds to teams and talk about that and the different services. Because a lot of the time, I think we have found it's just kind of the lack of awareness. People don't know that that's there. They don't really know what services come out of that. So that's really helpful. So I encourage you all, reach out to Natalie if you are looking for that type of service. Another question that we, had come in yesterday was, what are some things that can be promoted as wellness, but they might be damaging in the long run that we need to look out for?
The most that I see that's always promoted as wellness are typical supplements and shakes and, the things that are not FDA regulated. Those things are always going to have, oh, you're interested in your wellness. Well, try this product because this is going to make you well. This is going to make you feel good. Well, I mean, if somebody were to give me a medication for my lupus, but say, this is not FDA regulated, by the way, this is under the table, I would probably run screaming. So, but a lot of people don't realize a lot of these products that are advertised as wellness are just something that somebody mixed together. Not always researched well. A lot of times when they tout research, that research has only been released within their own public facility, because to state that something has been researched, you only have to have the research and publicize it in an area. Like you could send it out in an employee letter to your own company and then say you have research. So that would be my best advice. If you have something offered to you and you want to try it, take it to your physician, let your pharmacist look at it, make sure it's not going to cross with something else. Because, we see, I can't remember the statistic, but there's so many ER visits with diet pills and green tea extract, shutting down kidneys. I mean, just be really careful on that.
Gotcha. That's really helpful. And I know if any of you grew up with mothers that got into the big diet trend of the 80s, that's something, you have to be mindful of different supplements and pills. Take Natalie's advice there, make sure that it is FDA approved and it is safe. So Tim, are there any other questions? I know we're getting close to the last 5 minutes, so if anybody else has any more questions that you'd like to ask, or ideas you want to, submit of things that you're doing for wellness, we would love to hear from you. Definitely want to use this time that we have with Natalie if we do have any more questions.
I haven't had any new questions come in yet.
Okay, good deal. So what we will do is all of the resources that Natalie mentioned, we will be providing that out, providing a summary of this with the resources. And then we'll do a reminder of, we do have another session tomorrow. So Amber is going to be talking to us about diversity. If you have questions, you can still submit those to us. There's still enough time to get those questions to her if you want to have that. So if you are free tomorrow at 1, jump on that call. So be on the lookout for the notification of the recap of this meeting. And Natalie, we thank you so much for your time today. This has been really helpful. I think the big key takeaway for me that you mentioned at the beginning was that checking in on one another. So I think that's something, let's all keep that in mind. Let's check in on one another, on our coworkers, our colleagues, family members, make sure we're staying connected, and that we're, being mindful of not just our own wellness, but the wellness of others. All right. Well, thank you all so much. If there's nothing else, we'll be signing off, and hopefully we will see you at the same time tomorrow.